There's something deeply satisfying about turning what most people throw away into a powerful, life-giving resource. Kitchen scraps, peels and leftovers, things destined for the trash, can become the richest, most natural fertilizer your soil will ever know. For centuries, farmers and homesteaders relied on the natural decay process to replenish their fields, long before chemical fertilizers existed. And today, that same timeless wisdom can turn your household waste into dark, fertile compost that rivals anything sold in a bag. The best part? You don't need expensive equipment or complicated systems. You can start right now, using what's already in your kitchen. The key to good composting starts with understanding decomposition. At the heart of composting lies a simple truth. All organic matter returns to the earth. What separates good compost from a smelly pile of rot is, quite simply, balance. You see, composting is nature's own controlled form of decay. When the conditions are just right, microbes, fungi and insects work hand in hand to break down food and plant waste into humus. This black, crumbly material, well, it's the very foundation of healthy soil, wouldn't you agree? Now, the trick, really, is giving these organisms what they need to thrive. It all comes down to a proper ratio of carbon to nitrogen, along with the right amounts of moisture and oxygen. In simpler terms, your compost needs both greens and browns. Kitchen waste like fruit peels, vegetable scraps, coffee grounds and eggshells are nitrogen-rich greens. They fuel microbial growth, you know. On the other hand, dry leaves, shredded cardboard, sawdust or old straw are carbon-rich browns. They provide energy and keep the compost airy, preventing it from turning anaerobic. A rough balance of 2 parts brown to 1 part green will keep your pile active and, importantly, odour-free. Building your compost system doesn't require any fancy bins or equipment. Many people might think they need plastic tumblers or store-bought compost bins to start, but in reality, traditional composting predates all of that. Ancient farmers, they dug pits or used simple enclosures made from wood or woven reeds. The goal was always the same: keep the material together while letting air and moisture move through it. Quite ingenious, if you ask me. If you're working in a backyard, a simple open pile or a bin made from wooden pallets will do perfectly. You'll want to choose a spot that's shaded and drains well, so your compost doesn't dry out or sit in puddles. Start by laying a base of rough materials like small twigs or corn stalks to allow airflow. Then alternate layers of kitchen scraps and dry materials. For example, you might add a bucket of vegetable waste, then cover it with a layer of leaves or shredded paper. Each time you add new material, just lightly mix or turn the top to introduce oxygen and speed up the process. For those in tight spaces, like apartment dwellers, composting can be done in smaller containers or even through bokashi fermentation, an anaerobic Japanese technique that pre-digests food scraps before burying them in soil. What matters most is keeping your ratio balanced and maintaining a healthy microbial environment. The secret to fast, odourless composting lies in managing moisture and air. Composting is a living process. If it's too dry, the microbes go dormant. If it's too wet, they suffocate and create foul odours. The ideal compost should feel like a damp sponge, moist but not dripping. You can maintain this easily by sprinkling a little water during dry spells or adding more brown materials if things seem soggy. Every few weeks you'll want to turn your pile with a fork or shovel to introduce air. This really helps maintain aerobic conditions, which in turn encourage those beneficial bacteria that heat the pile and accelerate decomposition. Within a few days, you might even notice steam rising from the pile's centre. That heat isn't waste. It's actually a sign your compost is thriving. The microbial activity here can push temperatures over 130 degrees Fahrenheit, destroying weed seeds and harmful pathogens naturally. After about 2 to 3 months, depending on your climate and the materials you've used, you'll start to see dark, crumbly, soil-like material forming at the bottom. When it smells earthy and no longer looks like the original scraps, well, your compost is ready. Compost isn't just plant food, it's a living amendment that rebuilds your soil from the ground up. When you add compost to your garden beds, you're not just giving nutrients, you're restoring structure, improving aeration and boosting water retention. The microorganisms in compost continue working after it's applied, binding soil particles and creating a healthy balance between sand, silt and clay. So, let's look at a practical example. You'll want to mix mature compost into your garden beds before planting, about 1 part compost to 4 parts native soil. And for potted plants, just add a handful of compost to your potting mix every month. It really makes a difference. Now, if you've got fruit trees, spread compost in a ring around the base and then cover it with mulch to help protect that precious moisture. The nutrients will slowly leach into the root zone every time it rains or you water, feeding your plants steadily. Even better, you can actually brew compost tea by soaking a shovelful of finished compost in a bucket of water for a day or two and then use that liquid to water your plants. It's a fast way to deliver microbes and nutrients directly to the root zone, or you can use it as a foliar spray. Honestly, it's a simple trick that can really boost your garden's health. Composting closes the natural loop and, well, builds true independence. There's something, I'd say, quite profound about the composting cycle. You take the waste from your kitchen, feed it to the microbes, and then return it to your garden, where it feeds you again. It's the ultimate act of self-reliance, turning what's considered trash into treasure. And, you know, it's not new. Historical records show that early Chinese and Japanese farmers actually used human and animal waste, straw and ash in controlled compost systems that maintained soil fertility for centuries without external inputs. Their secret wasn't technology. It was really observation and respect for the natural cycle of life and decay. If you adopt composting into your routine, you'll not only reduce your household waste by up to 50%, but also free yourself from store-bought fertilizers. You'll build soil that stays fertile year after year, resistant to drought and disease. You'll be part of a tradition that predates modern agriculture, yet remains more effective than any chemical shortcut. Every handful of compost represents patience, balance, and the return to natural order. If you found this guide helpful, take a moment to subscribe to Husbandry for more deep dives into ancient agricultural wisdom, natural living techniques, and self-sufficiency methods that actually work. Share this with others who still throw away their kitchen waste. You might just inspire someone to start growing from what they already have.